At how this would make sense, how it would go. They would snap, snap. Perfect. Now I'll be honest, the only thing I could think about last night when I was going to bed was Street Fighters. I can't believe how nice this worked out. Very unexpected, by the way, very unexpected. In fact, I spent some time looking on YouTube. I looked up Street Fighters, and man, this would make a perfect Street Fighter. But that's not what we planned this project for. So today I want to get some more parts on this. I don't know, because it's raining all day, supposed to rain all day, and Karen has some chores for me to do. Well, you know how this plays out. If anybody has a honey-do list in the world, it's me. Anyway, but we have a Street Fighter do and a honey-do, and I think we'll get them both done before the day's over. Now, whenever it's raining outside, it limits, we can't put the motorcycles outside, make room, so I'm going to have to work right in this pretty confined area. But I thought the next thing would be appropriate for this. I'll get the seat parts put on, and making a plan every day. Until I get my marching orders from Karen, it's almost impossible to see what we have to do here. I can get these side pieces on. Got the chain guard on already. What I'm trying to do is save the main fairing for the last thing, because that's the most prone part to be scratched or damaged, and when you have to work alone like this, it's difficult. So I'm trying to go to war with the army I have here. I'm recovering from being sick myself. My poor wife is still sick. She's limited, and we're still all trying to stay confined and not go out in public and everything, because this video is being made during the coronavirus shutdown of our town. Is basically a ghost town. But I'm trying to get a little workout done every day and trying to do some things around the house that Karen has me doing, and try to use each day productively. But this project, as we come up to the end of it, next couple of days, and I will wait for a nice, reasonably nice day to do my photo shoot. What came from this so far, and I did not expect it, is what a nice Street Fighter this would make. And as I sit on it every day, now it's like making my head spin anyway. And I've shared the pictures of this with several people who I really respect their artistic talent. And that Street Fighter thing just seems to be something that more and more people think I might be right on. Anyway, but that's the future. Today we have to live today. And the truth is, in the middle of this restoration, when I had it up on the ramp, this one was done on a ramp, and I had all the bodywork off, and I was sitting on it, and I was thinking, that might make a good Street Fighter too. And to be honest, I don't have a Street Fighter in my collection, so maybe that's coming. You never know. In my life, I like not knowing. And I've been thinking about, because the way this is playing out, see, you never know how it's playing out. I might have time, because I'm getting done with the 650 project before I really thought I would. I might have time to make up that set of black wheels that, you never know. It's been on my mind. But that's the problem with having a set of motorcycles like this, a small collection. They're all evil twins up to a point. And as the late George Venturini used to tell me every day, he would always tell me, dreams are free. And when it comes to evil twin projects, one of the projects I always have is I can always swap the seats. I have the other set of exhausts for the bike. That kind of makes it an evil twin of its own. On a 750, I can swap out to the black wheels. Oh my God. I got the other exhaust pipes. Hey, there's just no end of evil twin projects. And what I love about evil twin projects, you never have to go down to motor vehicles. See, when you work on the bikes you already own and change them over and turn them into evil twins, there's no more trips to motor vehicle to re-register them. Boy, do I ever regret going down there when I have to go to motor vehicles. Holy mackerel, it's like going to the dentist and you find out he's out of anesthesia. So this is the kind of day it's going to be all day today. Another rainy day with Treezilla here keeping us company. And there's not much we can do about it. But we'll plan around it. And Karen actually has, we did a little walk in the garden. And look at this. We got buds on some of the plants, have new buds. And new stuff coming up all over the place. But no day starts without that extra cup of coffee. That's for sure. And no day starts without feeding my birds. They don't care if it's raining out. Just fill the feeder. So as I get the parts from the workbench out onto the motorcycle, and I'm trying to save that big part, of course, that's going to be tricky to do, especially while we're in lockdown like this. The whole town is in lockdown. Anyway, we'll figure out how to do it, I'm sure. But I've got all the things that I have to look at every morning, oogle the parts, figure out. I guess we'll start with the seat today. I got these seat parts to put on, and these side panels, and some of the other body work. Try to tidy that up today in the time we have available. But again, I haven't got my marching orders yet, so, and every one of these days becomes a unique entity. They're just, in my life, there's just no 2 days alike. And as I always say, I really do like it that way. And we have 4 tires to change before the summer actually gets here. That's always a thrill, and I always try to do that methodically. And no matter how many times it rains or it snows or you're housebound, you always have windy video rides to go back to. Well, the first thing is I want to bring out all the parts of the seat area out to the garage, and I have my dedicated little container of all the fasteners I'll need. Should make this job relatively straightforward. So this is the first piece to fit, and there's a little tang back here in the back that gets wedged into this little pocket, if I remember right. See, I may have to go back and check how I did this, but I have a wonderful memory for this kind of stuff. Who am I? I remember that goes around there. That little piece has to line up. That has to snap in. And this has to snap into the little rubber grommet up front. Well, let's just make sure nothing's in the way. So there's always the bolt somewhere on the bottom that's difficult to get in and get started. And this is why it's handy to have a dedicated little a tub with the screws for each assembly. And these little flashlights from Harbor Freight, they're so handy for doing exactly what I'm doing right now. I need to line up this little Zeus fitting that goes in here and get it nice and straight. Okay. It is a super handy little thing, and they're free. Free is good. Okay, so we got the whole bottom tucked in now. So the way this works is underneath here, there's a lot of little tabs, 2 or 3 little tabs. And they all have to be tucked in before you put that little Zeus fitting in. Once that Zeus fitting is in, once you pop that in, everything stays in alignment. And in the back here, you have to be sure this is supposed to line up right with the taillight, and that little tang gets pushed up into a little receptacle there. And it looks like that's, well, it's not an RD. But, you know, no part of this bike is an RD. Oh, an RD isn't an RD anymore. I don't know. Anyway, we'll get this all figured out. And it is very handy having the dedicated bolts for this assembly in one tub. And these little tabs that go in here, they go into rubber grommets. They're very delicate, so I don't want to, I always put just a little bit of grease or Vaseline or something on them, because I don't want to pull this out and break that little tab off. Well, that's the most common thing on any bike when you work on it, is if you break those fairing tabs or seat tabs, making them out of carbon fiber is a real pain in the neck. We've done enough of it for all of my friends over the years, that's for sure. So now this side has to go on before I can put the final piece on the back. So I want to make sure, number one, that I have this lined up well. I don't want to pinch any of these wires or anything. It's And I don't want to break any of these little tabs. That's the big thing. So by getting that back piece to snap in, and again, I've done this only once, so let's see if we can get this right in the first time. There we go. Snip, snip. Snap, snap. Now, all of the things on the bottom here have to get snapped in. And if you break any of those little tabs, what happens then, you just compromise the way the bodywork fits, and it'll vibrate in service, and I'm going to take that under there. That goes up by the Zeus fitting. And these things back here that looks like they have rubber grommets or anything, but they don't. Make sure that's lined up. We don't have any sticking out here. Oh, yes, we do. Even if one is sticking out and you go to force it, you'll break it. I don't want to do that either. So let's get that. Let's get that down there. There. Nice. Snaps right in. Snap, snap, snap. See, the more I work on this, the more I realize they engineered this up in such a way. It makes a lot of sense that all these things, they all have little rubber bushings on them and everything. It is very, very nice, but you got to be careful. And as I press this in, this is, make sure if all of these are lined up, I don't have any sticking out. Because if you do, we'll be fixing tabs. Oh, snapped right in. Get those greasy fingerprints off. Okay, so that now the screw can go in the back. And then that little Zeus fitting goes up in the front there. And then we can put the back piece on. Now, for anybody who doesn't, and I'm one of them, you don't work on motorcycles, or you don't work on the same bike every day. In my case, you don't never work at the same day. So if you don't do video, it's easy. Just take pictures along the way where everything goes, and keep the screws separate. That makes it a little bit easier. And if you're a professional mechanic, you won't be watching this video anyway. You'll be doing something else. So we're just trying to share information. So if you want to work on your bike and you don't want to pay somebody $110 an hour or something, this is the channel to watch. Okay, and once I know those are all in there and they're all straight. Oh, I love that sound. Pop. Pop goes the weasel. Okay, that's nice. Good to go. Now this has little tabs that have to go in. They have to slide in and snap in. Okay. And take our little Zeus fittings and just one more Zeus fitting there, and I think we're good. So there's something to keep in mind here. If you look at all your Zeus fittings, I call these Zeus fittings, they're not really Zeus, they're a little plastic. There's some of them that are larger than others, some are bigger than others. Some have a little screw, some have a press, a little tang. I wanted to just show this. These you activate by pulling that screw out, and by just, once you press that in, pressing that in, locks it in place. I just want to do the little quick little demo here. I thought I didn't want to skip over that since we're trying to share information. That fits in there. All the tabs are holding that in. Now you hear that snap and you know you're good to go. And that part, once we get the fingerprints off that, nice and solid. Now keep in mind, one of the things I did before, I did years ago, is I got rid of this. When this bike was made, it has this big thing with the license plate and everything on it. And I kind of tidied it up and of course painted it shiny black. So now, this is one of the things that I think is just going to add a little bit to the look of the bike. Now these are the two little parts that snap into the side of the seat, and what these are significant for, this is where John captured the logo off that we used on the side of the fairing so that this will match, but this is very subtle and inset, and the one on the fairing of course is gold. I want to be real careful fitting these. They have little rubber pieces. I'm trying to look at how this would make sense, how it would go. They would snap, snap. Perfect. And boy, that's a really nice styling cue that you don't really notice it and don't say, ooh, that matches the thing on the fairing. Wow. And John did such a great job on it. And thank you, John, and thank you, Thomas Luciano, and everybody that helped on this project. Everybody. This has really been, in the last week, even though I've been sick and we've had this virus thing and Karen's been sick, this has somehow been the sunshine of my whole last couple of weeks, just knowing that this was coming to fruition as well as it is. And I'm being so careful not to break any of these tabs, these little rubber things that hold everything in place. Boy, that is nice. And actually, to be honest, the more I work on a bike, see, in the beginning I was getting annoyed that when I was taking a fairing off, I said, this is too many parts and too many, it just was getting annoying. Because I'm spoiled. I'm used to working on track bikes where you just take 2 Zeus fittings and take the fairing off. This is a little more complicated, and I know putting on that front fairing is going to be an all-encompassing thing. But when I go back and put this back together now I know if I were to have to take this apart again, or if I buy another one of these and make a Street Fighter, I can take this apart in my sleep now, and I have the video of taking this one apart. So having those videos, and because they're out on YouTube, you hope they'll never go away. Who the hell knows though? If YouTube decides they're not going to keep them, I don't know. But all of these restoration things, having that information out on video, an example is something that's really important. I was thinking of Mark Morgan the other day when we made the last fairing we did for him, where we had to make a part and Bondo it and everything. Well, you know what? Without that, there's a bike that never would have gotten restored. It'd be impossible to restore it. Those parts are not available. Bikes were never even sold in the United States, but because we can fix some of these things, and that's why I'm so fussy about not breaking off the tabs and everything, because look how nice everything fits, perfect. And if you do it very carefully, it stays that way. When you manhandle it and rubber hammer it and hey, I hope you liked that footage yesterday, the A-Team one. We were in Bob Navola's garage. Holy mackerel. Now, to explain something, all that footage was on DVD, and I had one by one converted some of those old DVDs over. But not only that, I had old footage I had converted years ago on the old computer that I don't use anymore. So between that, we have a lot of good memories for, well, all of the memories are good, trust me. Anyway, that's ready to go now. I'm excited to see how this is coming together. Now even a little detail like that tail tidy, getting that to not be so obnoxious and flat and everything. Now, one of the things I had with this bike, I did not want to change the blinkers. I wanted to keep them the way they are. I like the way that kind of fits the look of the bike. I didn't want to go have little blinkers that nobody can see, and because we've had issues with people that ride with these little tiny blinkers you can't see, and hopefully I'm not one of them. I wanted to mention something else in between here while I'm just taking a break. I watched a video this morning on YouTube that I thought was really great. A guy showed how to polish a magnesium valve cover for a car. And I like to look at all polishing and mechanical, and I always try to learn stuff, and I did. And he said, and I'm going to look these up later today or tomorrow with Karen's help, that on Amazon they have these little things that go in a Dremel tool. They have little sets of them now that are basically for polishing magnesium, but I know you can polish aluminum with them too. And they go in the end of a Dremel tool. So I really have a few of them. I don't have the whole set. I'd love to buy the whole set. And if you look up this video, how to polish magnesium, what happens is the guy showed one scene that was worth watching a whole video for. He dropped a bunch of magnesium chips on his work table, and then he picked up the part and he was polishing it, and he built up static. And when he put the part down, it grounded and set the table, it exploded. It did like Chris's tire valve a couple of videos ago. So there's always something to learn, and I thank all the people that send videos in and don't edit out the stuff that's helpful. Now here's one of those tips that's worth its weight in gold. Q-tip, a little bit of wheel bearing grease, Just put the slightest amount on these little tangs. Slightest amount. And of course, put the same thing in the rubber end of it too. And what happens? You won't get these, especially if you ride the bike in the rain or the snow or whatever, and you won't get these that they lock in place, and then when you force them out, you break the tangs. And I have probably fixed hundreds of these over the years, over the course of doing this, and had to make tabs, make them out of carbon fiber. I'll bet I did 100 of them for Vlad's bike. Not to mention Mark Morgan, the king of bodywork that needs repairing. Anyway, we're ready to put these parts on. Where the rubber bushings are, put a little bit of grease, just a little bit with a Q-tip. Doesn't have to be crazy amounts, but what that'll do, hopefully make it that if we take this off again. Now this piece is kind of tricky. It's got a little lip. There's a rubber piece here, and I want to just line this up where this goes. That rubber piece goes on the top, so I want to make sure I put that on the correct place. And I do remember this being, let's see, it goes right here. And that kind of stabilizes that, I think. I think that's how it went. I guess we're going to find out. That has to go up. Let's see. And if not, we'll figure it out. I think that goes on the bottom. I may have to go check Partzilla here for 1 second. Nope. This is the kind of stuff, it's good that I have the video of. If this doesn't work out the way I want, we go right to the video. Okay. And this whole bike is hundreds of little rubber bushings. So let's figure this out. This goes somewhere else. I'm definitely going to have to check the video as I'm giving flying lessons here. Oh, it goes on the tank. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, ay. It goes on the tank. Now, why didn't I think of that? See, I don't cut that out of the video. I'm like that guy with the magnesium that sets his house on fire. Let's see, that goes back further back. Sometimes it's good to be able to figure this stuff out on your own too, at some point in time. Let's see if it goes back there. And I try not to make it look like it's some kind of fake thing that they Photoshop out all the problems of life. And let's see if that goes there, and this one goes here, and that one goes there, and that snaps in. And that's it. It only took me 15 minutes to put a part on that should have just snapped right on. And get those fingerprints off. Oh. Now this is one of the parts that was that textured flat black. This is all new carbon fiber. I made that, so it's a unique part to this motorcycle. Well, that's one of my pride and joys. I love the part of the job where, when you're doing construction work, you love the part of the job where you put the switch plates on. Or in a carpeting job, you clean up the scraps. This, I love putting these parts on. Yeah, that's really going to look nice. And it changes the look of the bike here, which I didn't like the look of that. I think the other side is going to even be more defined than this. Anyway, and these go together with a Zeus fitting. And this is one of the short. There's short and long of these. This is a short one. That locks that in. Very, very good. Sometimes it takes you a couple of minutes to figure out. It's a little tricky, but that's all nice and solid. Now this one, there's even more little tricky stuff going on here. This goes up under here. This one goes back here. I should remember this. I'm surprised my memory is so bad. That one goes in there. That one goes in there. Nice. Okay, and we need a Zeus fitting. We need a short Zeus fitting. The plastic, I gotta have the right word for them. They're plastic Zeus fittings. Can't have fingerprints on this bike. And once this is put in, that finishes this up. Snap-O-Matic. Well, and this, to me, this is the most critical part of this whole restoration. To make that change. I wanted to see that change. I didn't want this to be flat black. I didn't want to see that front part of the shock. And I'm not sure that at some future time I'll want to paint that shock spring black or whatever. Not a high priority right now. And that really does go a long way. I put a lot of time into that one single part, but that one single part I think is going to have a dramatic effect on how, just like the black forks, all these little styling cues, when they all together, it's going to have a major impact on the way the bike looks. And the last part of this assembly, the seat. There you have it. So now with the seat in place and the side covers on, it's really starting to shape up. Really starting to shape up, and it's really starting to fulfill that vision that I had for this bike. And from every angle, it has that look that I'm looking for, that it's subtle. It's not something that's not all goo-guy and everything. It looks like something the factory might have made, could have made, should have made, would have made. Who knows? It is truly a unique motorcycle. Now, I don't expect there are any other ones, because this would be a bike most people would not think would be a good choice to customize, not like a Hayabusa or an R1 or something. It fits that thing of being a very unique bike. So the state played out very well. I expected I'd get more, but the time is of the essence here, and I have a lot of family stuff to do, so I'm going to look around and just overnight now start planning out the fairing front end part. That's probably going to be a whole day of working. It fills in these parts here. These could not have come out any nicer. I'm so impressed with the way they came out. There's not many parts of this bike that there's nothing I'm disappointed with. And the good news is I know when it's time to go for test ride. I've already ridden it for 11 years. It checks all the boxes. It's a fun bike to ride. It's smooth. You don't have a sore back at the end of 200 miles. It gets great mileage. You don't wind up spending out your whole paycheck on gas. It's maintenance free. It's as reliable as a stone. There's just so many things. And actually, it's a bike that as you own it longer and longer, you come to love it more and more. And that's why I thought it was worth putting all this whole 500 hours into it. And I hope you've enjoyed sharing this adventure with us. We're going to finish it up in the next day or two, and if my health gets a little bit better, we're going to start looking at the weather for our first test ride. But we need two things. We need to do a thorough photo shoot just in case, because as you know, the FZR, after 900 hours, the first day out, I crashed the bike. So I want to have plenty of pictures. That's the answer, plenty of pictures. So anyway, what I really hope isn't, from watching that guy with polishing magnesium this morning, I was thinking, how nice is it that we have YouTube? Wow. If there's no other way we could share an adventure like this, it is really priceless. So again, I hope you enjoyed the adventure and you're sharing it with us, and I hope this summer, when all this virus is over with, we'll be all riding together again. So thanks for watching. So what happened? At the end of the day, it stopped raining, and I thought, you know what? I need to have, and I think it's really important, I needed to have some pictures of this just for my future reference, without the fairing on and without all the rest of the parts that cover the engine and everything, because the basic thing that came from this whole assembly so far, 3-4 days of assembly, how much different this bike looks without the fairings on. And I keep thinking to myself, you know, it's not only me. We have about 7,000 subscribers now, just under 7,000. But I'm thinking there's got to be at least some people in there that have a 650. And maybe as a possibility, you have an accident with it, you break up all the fairings. And this might not be one of the bikes you can buy the Chinese replacement fairings for. And if you went to buy them from Kawasaki, they'd be a fortune.
So then maybe you wouldn't want to spend the money, or the insurance wouldn't cover it, or you don't have insurance, or whatever. So I think one of the possibilities I always like to know about, and it's just me, I always like to know that in the worst of all worlds, what these bikes would look like as street fighters. Now, in this case, and I try to take this from a lot of different angles, a lot of different ways of looking at the way this bike looks, from up high, from low, from the back, the front. But what came from it, in my opinion of this bike looks like a much more expensive high-end bike without the fairings on. And actually, the way it looks, I think it even looks better than some of the bikes. And one of the things I noticed right away, I'd have to get rid of that overflow tank and figure a way of hiding that somewhere. But other than that, the fact that you can see the pipes from this angle, and there's just a lot of good things here. And I think it does have a little bit of the look of an MV Agusta, which is kind of cool, and a Ducati Monster. But when you think of how cheap these bikes go, a 10 or 11-year-old one that's been dumped, I'm thinking under $1,000. Anyway, just my thoughts for today. And I really hope you did enjoy the video. And we do have some pictures of this without the fairings on. And in the next day or so, we'll get the fairings on. So thanks for watching.